All right, folks, a number of things are happening in the world, and we'll be reporting on the. We'll see who joins us in this report and all along those lines. But a doctor said at least 17 people have died in a stampede at the massive Mahakumbh festival in India. So definitely, that's something that they're talking about as over 100 million people gathered at India's Mahakumbh festival. So definitely, that was a stampede that took place in that area, and definitely. Lunar New Year, family, food, and color as millions celebrate the year of the snake. So that is what this year is and everything. So definitely we'll be finding out what folks in terms of Chinese zodiac have to think about this year and everything like that. The UK government backs Heathrow expansion in the push for faster growth. So Heathrow's third runway looks like that is something that is in the plan. Is Rachel Reeves saying that a third runway is badly needed. Europe's busiest airport is set to get bigger as Britain green lights tortured Heathrow and everything like that. So definitely looks like that's something that's going on in Europe. And residents of Congo's besieged city live in fear as government forces battle rebel takeover. So Rwanda-backed rebels seize control of Congo's Goma after violent clashes. So tears burned, embassies attacked in DR Congo's Kanasha protests. So that's something else that we're seeing as well. An Israeli airstrike killed their dreams. The Gazans that never got to see the ceasefire. He survived 15 months of war in Gaza, then died as ceasefire neared. Is one of the stories that was in CNN as well as reported in New York Times. And it looks like 14 members of an Australian religious group are convicted over a diabetic girl's death. So 14 were convicted in the death of a girl for depriving her of insulin. So Australian religious sect members convicted in the death of the diabetic 8-year-old Elizabeth Strews. So that's something else that is in the news as well. And waves of Ukrainian drones target Russian power and oil facilities. Russia claims nuclear plant targeted during massive Ukrainian drone attack. So Ukraine strikes a Russian oil refinery in a major attack on that country's energy infrastructure. So this is what the folks are talking about in terms of that war as well. So lots of things going on, and of course, a lot's going on here as well. Australian police say they found a possible anti-Semitic attack after finding explosives filled trailer. So police catch a caravan laden with explosives caught outside of a synagogue in Australia. So Sydney police uncovered that cache of explosives with the indications that the target was a synagogue in that particular country. And three countries officially quit the major West African ECO-WAS alliance. So West African bloc announced its formal exit of three junta-led states. So definitely looks like the military governments led West African trio are out of that regional bloc. But the ECO-WAS pledges to keep the door open after three coup-hit West African nations exited that particular alliance. And hundreds of gold and silver coins buried 2,000 years ago are unearthed by a metal detectorist in the Netherlands. So, over 400 gold and silver Roman era coins unearthed in the Netherlands, and ancient British coins found in Dutchfield are likely to be the spoils of the Roman conquest. So, that's something else that people are talking about as well. And Italy's Milani says she is under investigation for release of a Libyan official. So, looks like she is under investigation, that being Giorgio Millenio, and she definitely said she is under investigation for reparation or repatriation of the Libyan warlord. So definitely that's something that's being investigated as well. And breaking with Biden, Trump expresses support for Israeli law targeting UNRWA. So definitely it will devastate people. Palestinians despair at looming UNRWA closure, and Israel urged to reverse that particular ban and all along those lines. So definitely a lot's going on, including a passenger and a crew that were evacuated as plane catches fire on a South Korean runway. So that's something else that people are talking about in the news as well. And 11 Baltic capitals have been damaged in 15 months, pushing NATO to boost its security. So suspected sabotage of deep sea cable triggers first NATO-led response. So that's something that we're seeing in the world news and all along those lines. It looks like Trump has freezed trillions. Chaos is ensuring. So Trump administration orders federal grants and loan freeze, and definitely be interested to see how this plays out on a number of fronts. and the shadow of Musk and the government buyouts plan. So definitely U.S. federal workers have until next week to accept Trump's buyout offer to resign. And looks like Elon Musk offered federal workers an unauthorized buyout. And Trump HHS Secretary nominee RFK Jr. is to stress he's not anti-vaccine at the confirmation hearings, and it looks like he'll be facing Senate scrutiny in his first confirmation hearing. So, from anti-vaccine advocacy to raw milk, many of RFK Jr.'s views fall outside of the mainstream, and he will be facing some grilling from the senators as well. And as far as the LA fire victims seek answers about rebuilding and the cleanup timeline. So climate change increased the likelihood of wildfire disaster in highly exposed Los Angeles area. And Carolyn Levitt had her first news brief and everything. So it looks like she eschewed tradition. And of course, there's this notion, and Nick will be glad to know that I did put in my name that they're trying to try to get some other folks that are from alternative media to come in and see if they want to ask Trump questions as well. And the Pentagon has stripped General Mark Milley of U.S. security detail and clearance immediately, and he may face demotion in retirement. So that's something else that is going on as well as Pete Etches takes action against Trump foe Mark Milley. And transgender Navy commander has reacted to Trump's ban on trans service members. So it looks like Trump is looking to boot transgender troops from the military, but it looks like they date all the way back to the Civil War. So we'll be seeing what goes on in this percent. And 85% of Greenlanders don't want to be part of the U.S. So Greenlanders overwhelmingly oppose becoming part of the United States, according to a poll. And the former Danish minister for Greenland discusses Trump's push to acquire the island on ABC, if you get a chance to check that out and everything like that. And like I said, we talk about education here on the network quite a bit, and America's children's reading skills reach new lows. U.S. students' reading scores dropped to the worst in more than 20 years. So nearly 5 years after school closed, the nation gets a new report and everything, and the nation's report card shows further declines in reading and a slight improvement in math. So it does look like there has been a slight improvement in the math scores and all along those lines. So definitely a lot's going on in the world and around the world and all in that space. I'm gonna bring in Jacoby. He looks like he's the solo one here so far. We'll see if anybody else joins us and everything like that. But we've got Rick joining us as well. So what's your take on this? You're in the education space. It looks like they're saying that we're not doing good in education. 20 years low and everything like that. So what's y'all's take on this? Because it doesn't look like we're doing all that hot in the education field.
I'm going to blame certain Republicans for de-emphasizing education.
Yeah, I can see
I mean,
that.
the Republican Party's mantra has always been first thing cut is education. That's what they cut first. That's why they want to get rid of the Department of Education. They want to do all this other stuff. It's pretty bad. I mean, I've got nothing to add more than what Rick just said. I mean,
we're in this similar. We thought it was a crisis. When I say this all the frickin' time, when Russia put up the first orbiting satellite, Sputnik, 1957, the U.S. was in a Cold War with the Soviet Union, freaked out, and did a 15-year push for math and science education. And now we lead the world in technology. But now we should feel like we're in a similar crisis with AI. Every kid in America, except for, I don't know, the very dumbest ones, and even them should be learning how to code, should, be. And I don't think that's happening in Oklahoma, where, they tried to buy a bunch of Trump Bibles for schools.
Yeah, our education system has been picked away for a while now, and yes, it does need reform. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be updated. There needs to be money in there. But no, we're going to the privatized thing. So now the richest are the only ones that are going to be able to go to get good education. Oh no, well we got to have these school choice. Well, you do school choice, and you know what happens? Those individuals that can't go to these schools aren't going to be able to improve themselves. Nick's here, and his favorite thing, internet shouldn't be for all. Well,
to every carpenter out there.
The problem is that we don't focus on education. We cry about all these extra things that education can help with, but we don't focus at all on education.
Yeah, to every carpenter, the world should be a hammer and a nail. To every engineer, it should be coding. So no, we do not need to have everybody.
You can't have an engineer if they're not educated. All you're doing is throwing a person with a hammer and a nail trying to say, hey, hit something. That doesn't work.
Like everybody on the show who's a carpenter believes everybody has to learn carpentry. If you don't learn carpentry, you're way behind. Everybody who's automobile mechanic thinks everybody's got to learn automobile mechanics. If you don't, you're way behind. And frankly, that's just not true. And everybody doesn't need to know coding. I mean, the thing is, because not everybody wants to be or have any interest in being a computer geek, period.
Not everybody needs to know geometry. Everybody gets a semester of geometry.
So that's kind of a worthless.
Hold on, Nick. Real quick. You legitimately come on and say that everybody shouldn't, but then you turn around and contradict that and say everybody should be in real estate, everybody should be in this. No, yeah, I completely agree, and I think we truly all agree. But as the world is shifting and as the world is actually changing, we should be actually promoting and pushing kids into where the world is going if we want to lead an education in these things.
Let me explain my position, counselor, when it comes to real estate. Okay. To my knowledge and belief, everybody in the world will live on a piece of real estate. Okay. So it's imperative that everybody in the world know about the laws and investment.
Wrong.
Well, wait, no,
wrong.
They are not going to go inside, an automobile. Oh, you got to learn automobile mechanics.
Incorrect. You don't even have to go all that. You don't even have to go down that road.
You're into video games. So everybody has.
Let me explain to you something. Okay, and we'll even talk about the video game space or whatever else that you want to go down. Say you're a big time CCNA. You have your CCNE, which is your Cisco certification dealing with cybersecurity. You know what else you don't need? You don't need to go into real estate because you're already making $400,000 with 6 months vacation a year. So again, $200,000 plus 6 months vacation a year. You don't need real estate because you're already doing cybersecurity and you're being hounded by Googles, by Ciscos, by everybody else. So if you go and become great in the actual area that you are, you don't have to really focus so much on real estate because you know what you can do? You can hire somebody to do that.
But hold on. All right. 17 states, including California, now mandate a financial literacy class before you get out of high school.
Yeah,
and freaking real estate, you take 3 days out of your financial. I mean, that nobody needs a full semester of real estate law, but a couple days to understand. Maybe a couple days on leasing, buying a car. So the general principle. But I say this a lot too. 120 years ago, if you weren't in school, you were looking at the ass end of a donkey because you were plowing your farm. And so you wanted to go to school because it was the most interesting part of your day. Now, with all your devices of personalized, delicious personal information, school is the least interesting part of your day. And so, school needs to be revised. I'm annoyed by calculus. As you move up the math ladder, the crown for a lot of, high achieving kids is calculus. That's a little bit BS. Instead, where's statistics and probability?
So
I agree with you in calculus. Unless you're an engineer who really needs to calculate the slope of a curve. I mean,
actually, you do need to know that. So,
you do need to know it. Boy, it's important.
Just to point out, Nick, let me just point out the slope of the curve deals also in real estate. If you talk about the growth rate, it deals also in real estate, which you're telling everybody they need to know about the growth rate and everything else in real estate. So if you want to know slope, that's there as well. So just to point out, Rick, you're spot on in terms of statistics and everything else, because if you look at where sports is, for example, sports entertainment, that uses analytics. And you know what else uses analytics and
Betting.
also puts betting, real estate, everything that you deal with also deals with statistics and analytics. And even more so, which is funny, is that if you talk about analytics and predictive analytics, you know what that leads to? AI.
So what? You know, in other words, and it's just like Rick was going, well, they just don't want to see the ass of a donkey or something. Do you know some people do want to see an ass of a donkey and they really don't care about learning calculus or learn coding?
Yeah, but if you're in the ass end of a donkey, but if you're in farming
people
now,
their donkeys. You know?
If you're in farming now, you better know a little bit about coding, because you're renting a John Deere combine for thousands of dollars a week during harvest time, and that thing needs to be programmed to process your crops. I mean, farmers are probably among the most tech savvy people in America now.
Yeah, but you really have to know BASIC or COBOL. I remember taking one of those stupid things, BASIC, COBOL. You got to learn all this stuff.
Well, the thing is,
let me tell you something. Talk about a big waste of time.
No.
Programming language. Waste of time.
Incorrect. Just as
Rick, I think Sasha never took a programming class. He's very successful financially.
Just as Rick pointed out an example for you. People are using coding in farming because you've got to program the actual machinery that you're using on the farm. It's the same thing in coal mining. So the basics of coding and stuff like that can help enhance the area and the places that you are. We have to be able to. The problem that we're having right now, and this is actually a lot of stuff that I'm. It took me forever to understand, but I've got to understand it, is that we're speaking old language. We're not speaking to what kids are and what the kids are learning today and how they're learning and the world that they're growing up in. We're speaking to, hey, we got paper and pencil, so you better write me a paragraph. We've got a typewriter and I've got some whiteout. Nobody's using those things. Nobody cares about those things.
So I would give you take coding out, replace it with tech whispering. Give people a semester of showing them the tech that's currently out there, maybe that's anticipated to be out there. Give them a semester of working with the tech.
I would concur with that, because technology changes a lot. And having technology classes in general, I don't have any problems with that, Rick. But please don't make me do
semantics.
That is like saying make me build an automobile engine. I don't want to build.
Well, speaking of, hold on a second. Speaking of technology and everything, there is a major technology that is been out there for a while. I think I have a small version. It's not the kind that Ukraine's got and everything, but Sasha, you've joined us and everything, and I understand that the drone attacks have been very effective, and they are attacking the infrastructure of Ukraine. So I was wondering, of Russia. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts around this, because apparently, speaking of technology, and I know that the drone attacks seem to be quite effective and everything, and they've hit several cities, and they seem to be hitting the whole notion of many of the cities and towns that have energy that is feeding the entirety of Russia and everything. So what are you hearing from the front line?
Yeah, they're extremely successful. Some of them are, and most of them are domestically made in Ukraine. Some of it using Western technologies, some are not. And they are so diverse that there are sea drones, there are drones which are flying 2,000 kilometers distance, and some that are flying only 200 kilometers. And they're quite precise. And there are some drones that They're just trying to gather the data, and so they're doing more or less preparation for further attacks by bigger and stronger drones. So this is a phenomenon. Russians don't have effective means to fight it. So far they're bringing down any ammunition depot, the oil refineries. Just such are very important targets. They're not shooting just anywhere. They're shooting at very important, sensitive military and economically viable targets. So this is what Russians can figure out, and it seems to me in this environment, I think Trump is doing a great favor to Putin, trying to get out of this war, which is absolutely nowhere to see how Russians can win and when and at what cost. It's an incredible situation. Maybe after all, maybe let's leave him alone and let him just fight and lose the war and being humiliated. And there are nobody calls him anymore like a couple of years ago to save his face and give him some honorable way to end it. No more. Now Trump calls a spade. He says that your economy is wrecked and your army is not going anywhere. And if you will not agree to peace, I will provide more weapons and ammunition to Ukraine. And then what? So there is a hard way to end the war and there is a soft way. Well, it's up to you to choose.
Those people had to learn how to program those drones and operate them. That's tech whispering. And in this war, the lead up to this war, passenger planes have actually been shot down by idiots who don't know how to use their technology.
I have a story on Ukraine and the drones. 10 years ago in Las Vegas, I was at CES. I interviewed a group of people from Ukraine who were developing drone technology a decade ago. Now, here's what they were using it for. Ukraine is a very big producer of food globally. And so what they were doing is they're positioning drones all over their farms to actually spray fertilizer, to get rid of weeds, to make sure that they have growth pills there. In other words, they were basically putting drones all over Ukraine for their farms, and they would come down and sprinkle, stuff to take care of their food. Now what they did is they basically repositioned their drones. Rather than spraying fertilizer, they spray bullets on the stupid Russians. And they're using
the Russians and other lines. And getting back to another issue that's out there and everything. This is the day that I guess we're going to actually see RFK in front of the Senate and everything. And of course, he's going to have to defend everything from not being anti-vaccine, because he said he will say that he is not anti-vaccine, to his whole theories on raw milk and everything. And so far, the folks that have been put forth have gotten through, including Kristi Noem and everything along those lines. And before we get to RFK, I do have a question for y'all, and this is very serious and everything. I saw that there was a big raid in New York, and best I can tell, they grabbed like maybe one or a few people and everything. So did we spend a lot of money to grab like basically one person? I'm not saying he wasn't a bad hombre, because it sounded like he was a very bad hombre. Ironically, Rick, from your neck of the woods, because apparently he'd originally moved from Aurora, Colorado to New York and everything. But best I could tell, I didn't see that many people rounded up. I saw like one person.
All right, so they put out daily reports on how many people, and like yesterday it was like 1,130 compared to an average of 730 a day in the last year of the Bush administration. So that's a 50% increase. Is it like gigantic? No, but it's significant. I've heard estimates that in order to, even at 1,130 a day, if they manage to average that, that's 400,000 a year, which is not the million a year they promised. And I've heard estimates that it would cost $88 billion a year to get up to deporting 1 million people a year.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. How much money did they spend? Because it was the DEA, it was the New York folks, it was several police groups that were there.
The problem that you're pointing out, Mark, is the problem with the whole idea. The problem is they're rounding up people that are not criminals. The problem is they're going into schools and businesses and all this other stuff. They've already detained U.S. citizens. These arrests are going into places of business. If they are, quote unquote, going after the worst of the worst and all the, they're not clocking in. The people that they are going out after are clocking in and working. So the problem, and they're going to try and boost these numbers. Out of the quote, the 1,000 or whatever number they put out a day, they have a TV show with freaking Dr. Phil going around saying, hey, you're a bad person. Okay, so out of that 1,000, Dr. Phil is interviewing what, 2, 3? So maybe about 10 people are bad hombres, but the other 990 people are legitimate business owners, business people, people working, taking their kids to school, following the laws, been here forever. So they're just rounding people up. And even worse, that scares people, that stops people from wanting to go to school. That I already talked about how people are not showing up for work to not only pick crops or do whatever they need to do. There was one farm that said, my egg farm or whatever farm is about to dry up because people are not showing up because they're afraid they're going to be picked up by ICE. This is a bad thing. Yes, raids have happened in the past, but the way they're going about it is just to boost numbers. This is a national show me your papers act. That's all that is. And it's horrible. It's rounding brown people up. That's all they're doing.
Okay, so according to Joe Tovey, if I'm listening carefully, enforcing the law is a bad thing. Okay, I got it. But that's the reason you guys lost the election. If you wanted to change the law, then change the bloody law. But don't create laws like they did and make it a crime for people to come here illegally and then complain because they're picking people up that are here illegally, putting them in transport, sending them to Colombia, and then you jump up and down and say, why aren't they in a private jet?
Nick, no.
Frankly, I hate to say
it, everything you just stated. Because you're pushing you're saying the same propaganda piece. One, they are not criminals.
Yeah, they were.
Undocumented individuals are not criminals. People say, oh, they lost, and that makes them criminal. You've gotten a speeding ticket before, so you're a criminal. You have you're a criminal because you've gotten a speeding ticket. So then what they're doing is they're going to places where these people are working. They are working. They are paying taxes. They are paying into the system. So they are criminals or threats.
I don't know what your big deal is. Why do you have a problem?
So y'all talked about,
and then in terms of changing the law,
the Colombian people needed to go back.
Have y'all even talked about the law?
Hold on a second. Kim's got something to say.
Have any of y'all even discussed the federal funding being cut and done the math on that?
Isn't that great?
No,
it's going to reduce the deficit. They're just slicing the.
Well, okay, so Nick, I want you to consider something that I just posted. Do the math, okay, and do some consideration. You know, from my background and my history working in the cyber world, you know, you got 7 technocrats behind Trump that own the internet. Now, pretend you're a cyber hacker. Hackers go in and they want to take down a bank account or take all the money out of it. They generally go in and they tap it for a penny or 10 cents or something that you're just not going to consider worth bothering with. Then they're going to come in and they're going to touch it for $1. And this is what they've been doing for years. So that's what they call a slow interruption, to understand the cash flow, how it moves, how to get in there, check the vulnerabilities, and then they're going to snatch all your money instantly. Now, I saw this as, wow, look, we got one button we can hit and we can stop all the $150 million a day that goes to every state. Now do the math on that, Nick, while I talk. $150 million per state.
That's
okay,
great.
So yeah, you're going to save everyone money, but instead, you know, they've already tested the system. That interruption allowed them to check the flow. They said that they were going to do that. They said that they're going to stop the federal money so that they can see the flow. Oh, they are so telling you the truth. So this is what hackers do. So they will do that, and they were checking to see where to reroute the money. So next time they do this, it's going to be instant, and they're going to reroute all that money into their accounts. Now, the only tech giant that didn't do this and join them was TikTok, because they already make trillions of dollars a day. They make more than all 8 of those men together have made in their life. And that has pissed Trump off. And that's why he's been pushing to go 50-50. And you know, bar none, once this happens, you're going to lose access to your internet, social media, you. And now they've opened up all of these jobs that the migrants took away from you. So there you go. You guys are going to lose all of your federal funding into their pockets. It's not going to go where it needs to go.
I want to go back to deportations for a sec. There's one guy you should make the deportation czar, and that's Barack Obama. Obama was the deportation king. For the first 6 years of his administration, he kicked out between 300,000 and 400,000 people. Nobody else has come close to that. You know, Trump was about, I don't know, 2/3, half of that. And part of it was because we had an economic collapse. The recession of 2008 made people more willing to get the hell out of America where conditions weren't great and go home. But nobody has come close to the numbers that Obama that have.
No, and I just, you know, I got some history buffs here. Does anyone remember the repatriations that Hoover did in 1929 to 1936? And he deported, I think, 2 million Hispanic families without regard of what they did, mainly because he said that they were taking all the white man's resources. So 1929 to 1936. See, our history books don't teach us this. I go when I learn history that the history books don't teach us. Like I go
Eisenhower did the same thing with the the program. Sorry for using a racist.
No, but go ahead, because I love history.
So in the 50s, we had into the 60s, we had something called a Bracero program, which was foreign workers, mostly from Mexico, come north, pick our crops. In the middle of the 50s, there's a freak out that we have too many foreign workers. So Eisenhower does Operation Wetback to deport foreign workers. But meanwhile, that other program to bring them in still goes on. So we're a little bit schizophrenic about, you know, how we think of foreign workers.
Well, speaking of being schizophrenic,
yeah, I know the Native American Indians are right now wishing they had done Operation Whiteback when the settlers came over.
Yeah, but a lot of folks that have those issues. I mean, even in Spain, the thing is they have a big problem here because we've got the second most amount of tourists in the world, 94 million people, which way exceeds the population.
You're one of them.
No, I'm not a turista, señorita. I have residency status, so I'm not one of them. But there are turistas. They come, and so they've created laws here that basically kick the turistas out. They're stopping the golden visa. They're not allowing Airbnbs. But that's Spain's prerogative and right. And us who live here, if Spain told me we had to go and they didn't give me my visa, I already had plans to leave. I was going to Morocco. I was going to Great Britain or Italy or somewhere else. I'm not going to stay. The real problem you have with the immigrants to the United States, they stick their nose up at the U.S. system because you're so weak, you won't kick them out. If you start kicking them out, then they're going to learn that the U.S. actually has laws, and they're going to enforce the laws. So now for the first time, except maybe for Obama, they're going to start enforcing the law. So if you're an illegal immigrant and you're in the United States, get your plane ticket and go back where you came from.
I just want to make a correction. The Colombian president did not ask Trump to bring them back to his country on our private jets. He offered his private jet. And I just want to make that correction. The propaganda being spread to make it look so, like everybody's being obnoxious, and they're not. The Colombian president was concerned about his own people. and
Oh yeah,
you know,
that's the reason
was
he rejected.
offering to bring them back on his plane, his dime, his time, but Trump turned that down and sent them. So
No, that's the reason he rejected his own people. No, he was just making a political statement that these are Colombians. They need to be treated with respect. No, they weren't Colombians.
yeah,
There
but
were illegal immigrants in the United States. Who were
but
taken out of our
the propaganda was lying about it, and you guys were saying that he asked them to be brought back on our private jets, and that's not what happened. He offered his planes.
Rather than be an
Had a
apologist,
little more integrity than our country, Nick.
well, rather than be an apologist for this socialist leader in Colombia, why didn't he just say, "Go ahead and land in Colombia"?
Because he wanted to use his own planes. I don't
But
know
wait a
why,
minute,
but he did.
aren't these his people? So why didn't he say, "Oh yeah, they're my people. Go ahead and land in Colombia"? Why didn't he do that?
Because he wanted to pick them up with his planes. I don't know
Oh,
why.
that's right. You're right, because they have to go on a private plane. I'm sorry. Okay, go
It's
on.
not,
On
it's not,
his private time and
Hold on a
plane.
second. Hold on a second. Nick and Kim, it's Sasha.
his plane or their planes. He simply wouldn't allow U.S. military planes to land on Colombia.
That's what he was worried about. He was worried
Our
about the
military
military
planes aren't good enough for Colombia. I
No,
got
what
it.
he was worried about. Sasha's so right. He is so dead on.
Our
He
military
was worried
planes
about
aren't good
them
enough
sending
for
their
Colombia.
military troops
I'm
on
sorry,
our
Mr. Colombia.
planes.
No,
I agree.
U.S. military planes are
planes.
very good for places like Afghanistan. That's are perfect, and they have to fly there.
Yeah, what if they land
Go
on
tell our
there?
military.
And
Tell our veterans that, Sasha.
Hey,
Go
did
tell our
anybody
veteran
see
military.
and
Hey, leftist pod TV people.
more or less
Leftist pod TV.
civilized country, even in Colombia,
Tell our military veterans that your
reject
planes aren't good enough
US
for
planes
Colombians.
out of their territory, and that's exactly what they did.
So,
Now, if U.S. would bring these people on passenger planes,
Oh, I
then
see.
it would be debatable. Maybe they would
Sasha, does it need to be third class passenger plane, or would economy be okay?
No, U.S. military planes are not.
yeah, that's what he was worried about. Sasha's dead
I'll
on.
have to tell all of
He's
our
dead
veterans.
on.
Not
I'll have to
okay.
tell our veterans that military planes
Colombians
are
or
considered
Mexicans,
third class.
they're empty. Doesn't matter. Nobody wants to have U.S. military planes. Just the end of
I think
story.
he was more worried about the
So
invasion
one
and
more
everything
thing
like
I
that, or
want
a
to pop
possible
up
invasion.
because
Just like
I
you talked
always
about
look at
Greenland
the
and
money
Panama.
of everything, and I want to add that the reports have been coming in, that they sent out over 5,000 ICE agents to bring back or find the illegal criminal immigrants. They couldn't even find 1,000 yesterday. Some of them sat in their cars for hours. So, do the math of $100,000 a year agent sitting in a car, doing absolutely nothing for a couple of days, only bringing in a couple people. It seems to be a waste of money and time. They're getting tired of it. They're like, this is just very not ethical. Some are, collecting their paycheck and not doing anything. So I just want people to do the math, but you know what? Yeah, send them all back and go take their jobs farming because we're going to need the food.
Yeah,
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Fire those government
Nick,
employees.
hold on a second.
People
Speaking of
that
food and
do
everything,
the
hold on a second, Nick. Speaking of food and all along those lines, that's the other one I was going to get to. Is RFK going to be confirmed? Because RFK is probably going to be running our health department and everything, and that's the other thing that I was going to and everything. Because he's now back in track and saying that he's not anti-vaccine, even though most of the time he was, and everything. He's also now saying, I don't know what the whole controversy was around raw milk, but I think he had something to say about raw milk and all along those lines. But is he going to get confirmed? I mean, we've all got Christine Owens. I guess it's following.
Hey, Mark, according to our Pod TV polls, which have been very accurate, as a matter of fact, it even predicted that Peter Hespa, whatever his name was going to go to the wire. I mean, I was kind of impressed. But according to our Pod TV LinkedIn poll, he will be confirmed. And it's almost like 70-30 chance. So oddly enough, you're going to see him. And they said Peter was going to be confirmed, but it's going to be by like a razor margin thin. You know how thin it was? Your friend Tom Tillis had made a deal that if the affidavit came in, that he was not going to vote for Peter. And then at the last minute, he changed his mind. He voted for him, giving him enough votes to push it into J.D. Vance, who made the final decision. I'm going, I knew it was going to be thin because of our poll said it was going to be thin. Our poll says RFK is going to be confirmed. I fell out of my chair. I thought for sure that this guy was not going to make it, but people are.
Do you think that they'll declassify and share the files of Epstein just like they did JFK, MLK, and RFK? I mean, he doesn't have a K at the end of his name, so initials. But do you think they'll do that or not, and why?
I don't know, but all I'm saying is look forward to having RFK as head of the Health and Human Resources.
This is a scary thought and everything like that.
I know why you left the country. So,
well, the thing is, health will be better here than over there, and plus I have to deal with the circus over here in Europe. We don't even get the circus. I have to go and.
Well, speaking of the circus and everything like that, Nick. Speaking of the circus, did you get the other circus that was going on? Because we oftentimes talk about BRICS and everything, but that is not the only alliance and everything. There's various alliances, and I mentioned that there was one out of Africa and everything, but apparently the three junta-led countries, and I got to remember which ones they are. They pulled out, so they are breaking up that particular alliance and everything because they were like, no, we don't want people that are being run by military type dictators and everything. And they actually, I think they pulled themselves out. But are we going to see more and more of these alliances, whether it's NATO or the one that's the African nations or BRICS, starting to fall apart? That's my question, is whether they're actually going to maintain or whether they're going to start falling apart.
I don't think BRICS is going to fall apart. I think it's a real threat to the U.S., the real threat to the U.S. dollar reserve. And the United States needs to wake up because there are people there, people around the world that actually hate the United States. China's one of them. I have some good friends. They listen to this all the time on Understanding China. And the Chinese can be really nice to you. But if you listen to their threats, their overall underlying current is that you guys are the worst thing since scum. Anybody from the U.S. And that's how China thinks. Russia thinks the same way. So check it out. Now they get an alliance with Brazil and India, and we're supposed to suck up to Brazil and India. Are we out of our minds? So I think the U.S. needs to have a wake-up call that internationally they are not really. There's a lot of places that just aren't happy with that.
But Mike Pence, who is Trump's favorite friend, is saying that we are going too far into the isolationist viewpoint and everything. So what is our thoughts around this? Because he did put that out recently that he would, and of course, he's not part of the MAGA wing, he's a part of another wing and everything, but he's thinking that we need to be less isolationist and everything like that. So what is your take on that?
I like, as a liberal, I like dollar diplomacy, being everybody's friend by, being the one with the checkbook. Of course, now we're highly in debt, but we had it good for 30, 40, 50 years after World War II when we had the world's manufacturing. We had money to throw around and, we were the world's friend paying for foreign aid. We have 800 foreign military bases. All those bases bring money to local foreign economies.
And then they turn around, they stab you in the back. That's just
but as we pull back into isolationism, China steps in to be the world's buddy.
Well, speaking of being the world's buddy, that's what I'm wondering about BRICS, because the three nations that pulled out of the African nations are Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, and they're actually on a trade route. So I'm thinking that China might be trying to court them to join BRICS now as well, because they have some definite trade kind of things, and they definitely probably have some resources, natural resources that would be interested in everything like that. Now, there are some people that are saying that those nations are also very much into Pan-Africanism, which is a notion that all of Africa should unite and all along those lines. But I just wanted our take on this idea that maybe they're about to pick up 3 new members, because that would be Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso in terms of BRICS and everything.
These 3 new members, supposedly, they're not going to change anything in BRICS situation. Nothing. They can join, they may not join. It does not matter at all to anybody, even to these 3 countries themselves. What's the most important thing is that for last dozens of years, U.S. wielded not just military financial power, but also so-called soft power. U.S. influenced the cultural events, music, movies, and everybody wanted to be associated with America or Americans. That soft power was lost finally after Vietnam, after the Iraq and Afghanistan, and it's just lost. China has more soft power today by helping local countries like in Africa or somewhere else to create new institutions, new schools and hospitals and so on. America lost its soft power. Now, if it lost its soft power, it has to rely on military. It has to rely on financial powers to get through all that. But that is in shambles, especially financial power. It's done. The country with $36 trillion in debt, is that financial superpower? Come on. It's superpower in terms of accumulating and building more and more debts. In a year or two, it will exceed $40 trillion. With all Trump's rhetorics and his friends, it will go to $40 trillion, baby. Drill, baby, drill. Drill.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything much about drill, baby.
To $50 a gallon, the drill business will be done and over with, because you can continue to drill only at your own expense and taking further financial losses. There are not enough idiots in America who are going to.
I will say this: my stocks did exceedingly well yesterday, but it doesn't mean it'll do good today. I think we're going to see some trampoline effects going on here in the very near future. And don't forget to watch all of this information on Sasha's Modern Investing Show. Right, every Wednesday. What time, Sasha?
It's at 1 o'clock. But what's interesting, I'd like to tell you, is that today in the morning, Canada lower its interest rates a quarter of a point, while U.S. is struggling whether to keep it the same or maybe to bring it a little bit higher, and let's do this or that, and nobody knows what they're going to do. At 2 o'clock, there will be a decision.
Right. Well, and a lot of, and you know, Sasha, you could probably confirm this for me, but a lot of people are unaware that one of our major resources that comes from Canada is electricity and power. That is one of our major resources, as well as gas, oil, and energy. Of course, a lot of our food comes from Mexico. Though David did say we can become self-sustainable, he said we can become, doesn't mean we are. And so I just think that we need to be aware of how we treat other people, and bullying them into doing things with what you want them to do and doing it my way or die way just is not going to work forever. It's just not going to happen. So if you value your electricity, but I will say this, be prepared to operate off grid. I actually personally have a huge Wi-Fi tower converted into a ham radio if need be. In my yard, I was going to take it down this year. I thank God I didn't. I've got all the equipment to run it, either the bandwidths of Wi-Fi or ham radio. I have an antenna that goes close to 30-mile radius. I recommend everybody else brushing up on their skills this year.
Yeah, that makes sense. We got Steve with us and everything. And by the way, I was going to tease Steve, so I got Kim and Nick here as well. But I mentioned earlier, I did get the letter that Nick sent and everything, and I did put in. It only takes like a short sentence and everything like that. So you have to say what network you're with and who you are. And apparently, the Trump administration wants alternative media to be there in D.C. And I know that Steve regularly goes to D.C. and everything. So you might want to look at everything to see if one of the people.
Yeah, well, real quickly, I only have a few minutes. Well, I'm going to be here till the end of the show, but the main topics I'm hearing on the ground today, I tried to get on for the beginning of the show, but I got caught in a meeting. But is birthright citizenship. I'm getting some calls from the media on that, which is interesting. My wife's a birthright citizen. She actually came here when she was 2 years old and became a citizen. And we often forget how unique we are in America, that immigrants can vote. In Germany, immigrants can't vote. So, I think it's kind of interesting. I don't think it really can happen because of the 14th Amendment, but That's interesting. And then the confirmations continue. It looks like Cash Patel is going to get confirmed, and things are going crazy. And I got my first things are so divisive. I got my first death threat from a lister of WPTF, and so I had to report that to the police. And I've gotten actually two in the last week. And there's requests for me to get off the air, so it's pretty bad. And I just don't understand why people are so angry. I mean, when I commentate, I don't really come in and talk about like evil things about Trump, but people are really emboldened, and there was a lot of racist rhetoric in the letter, and physical threats, and so hope I'm here next week, but it's a scary time out there in America, right? So anyway,
definitely a scary time, but like I said, maybe you can go there and be a reporter in the White House press room, since
maybe that's where I'm headed. Well, I'm projected to win the campaign.
Take these threats seriously. Don't think that just because you report it to the police that you're in safe hands. I don't mean for you to live looking over your shoulder, but I had to deal with crazy right-wing nuts when I fought to save the watershed years ago, and I would get threats. I would get all kinds, they would actually come and destroy my property. And, there was nothing the police could do, because back then we didn't have cameras everywhere. Now I have a shotgun, cameras everywhere. I'm, putting up electric fences. So beware. But be careful. Don't take those threats lightly, even if they tell you to. Some people, they're all hot air, but some aren't. So be careful. I care about you.
Absolutely. No, it's okay. One day at a time.
Yeah. So what is it exactly they want you to stop saying?
They said that the election in 2020 was rigged. They believe in birthright citizenship. It's a white nation. It's a Christian nation. They want Indians out.
I saw that. Yeah. They want the Native American Indians pushed out of the country. Yeah. I just saw
they don't like having
Asian Indians.
Yeah,
but they're also pushing to get Native American Indians out too. I just saw that.
Yeah, I think it's just I think they're just very emboldened now, and we'll just have to, but anyway, I think it's I think with AI, it's going to be interesting. I am going to get back to bringing some guests at least once a week, and David Walker and I, Kimberly, I'm going to shoot you an email. We're going to do American politics next Thursday at 3. So Mark Lee, I'll email you as well. Just kind of a recap of American politics. David Walker, Steve Rao, the great show. And we do it like on special, we do it. We're going to do it live and then record it. And but I think that it's a very disruptive time, and we're just going to kind of see how this all plays out with the Democrats and the Republicans, and all eyes on Roy Cooper and whether he's going to come back.
Hey, Steve, along those same lines, I did hear some grumblings and some rumors, and I don't try to deal that much with people's personal lives and all along those lines, but there is some notion that the final blow to the Democratic Party could be this notion that Michelle and Barack, which were seen as the power couple, are no longer, that they're about to head down divorce court and everything like that. So are you hearing anything about that? Because I've heard definitely some of the MAGA people and other people that are saying that if that happens, that would be almost like the one of the death blows to the Democratic Party and everything like that. So there is this notion that they are.
I haven't heard that. It could be a rumor, but you never know. I mean, there's always going to be. I think that. I don't know. I don't think so, but you never know. Things happen. So
things happen. You never know. And like I said, I think there's only been the 2, and they were in office at the time. So the 2 divorcee presidents that I'm aware of are Trump and Ronald Reagan, because Ronald Reagan had already divorced his wife his first wife by the time he came in, and that was the actress. And I can't remember the actress's name off the top of my head and everything. So Sasha may remember it and everything, but that was the 2 that I did read that had been divorced in the past. So it doesn't mean that they will and everything, but that is something that's circulating in social media. And it could be the MAGA folks trying to discredit some of their noted enemies or people that they perceive as enemies.
So I have a fun thing for people to do. If you have Netflix, look at their Bollywood movies. Just browse through.
Bollywood has some great movies.
No, they have hundreds of them, and see how beautiful the performers are. The people in Bollywood movies are some of the most beautiful people you've ever seen. And the reason is because India has 4 times our population. They have an incredibly deep bench for talent. Ditto for China, 4 times our population. Together, 8 times our population. If we're going to compete with them as we move into the future in those countries, which, were behind us because they were poor countries, as they get their act together, it's going to be hard to compete, especially if we have chaotic government. We need better government to compete against these big ass countries.
Yeah, that's
The
true.
World Cup champion today is from India. His name is Gukesh. And last time I checked, I don't know if Sasha looked at it, he's leading the Tata Steel tournament, which is like the Wimbledon of chess, which shocked me because Fabio Caruna is from the United States, who was the highest rated player, is like in the pack, but the Indians are kicking tail in the chess world. So it really brought up the chess world to the point where I think they have like 400 million members of their chess federation. So they're really heavily into intellectual sports, where the United States struggles to get 100,000 chess players. India has 400 million. I mean, it's pathetic. I mean, there's a good chance that India is actually into intellectual endeavors, and the United States is still a bunch of stupid rednecks that are doing whatever they're doing over here.
So I wanted to share with you guys the new White House website. There's been some interesting changes. If you know how to use Wayback Machine, I will give you a heads up because I've already went back and started videotaping the old websites just to show you, how they used to be. But I think they're starting to take down the archives because some of them I'm trying to go to no longer exist. But if you take a look, they've removed a few interesting aspects of the website. And, Trump, of course, I mean, it looks like a clown site to me. This is nothing like what it used to look like. It was very open to the public. It was informative about what they were doing, more about the people. Their priorities were your priorities. They didn't just have a stay in the know, but they had a contact us. And a contact us does not exist anymore at all.
But it didn't work. It didn't work.
Right. And they removed everything that used to translate things in Spanish.
But it lost them the election. So they had a very nice, helpful website, and the Democrats don't lean forward. This new website demonstrates how to do it right in a way that's frustrating to me as a liberal. The new website is Trump is great. We're kicking ass. We're kicking ass. Every picture is Trump fighting. And that wins you votes. The Democrats for 4 years, they hid, they leaned back. Biden looked old.
Absolutely. They just don't have they don't have a strategy. They have to be the party of the future. What are their plans? And I think that needs to be the plan for the Democrats. They just don't have it. And I think it's just slipping away. You can't grow a business without new customers. You can't get new customers with good marketing and branding. They're off on both. And unless it changes, you're going to see at least 8 more years of Republican rule from the White House. I think J.D. Vance will be the heir apparent unless the Democrats can change their strategy. It doesn't matter who they put up.
I agree.
Sorry to be so negative. That's my thought on it. And they're infiltrating even Lake County now. So.
I agree, but I want to just add that they took away the means to contact them, which I've done many times, and actually got a personal letter from Laura Bush once. So they took away the means for the people's voice to reach them. That does not exist anymore. I've videotaped all of the old website means compared to the new one, which is short and clean. You know, I'm here to fight.
Hey, Kim, I know we're ending and
Gotta run,
everything. I did
everybody.
want
Thank
to
you.
just thank Steve really quickly because I
Thank
saw
you,
that he
Steve.
did a great short, and I'm hoping that we can air that on Pod TV. But it was with one of his fellow city council people from another city, and I can't remember which city. I think it was Wake County and everything like
Which
that.
one was that?
I saw your clip that you did the interview, and the Zoom interview was like a 20-minute clip. So hopefully,
Oh
we can
yeah,
air
that was really great. We can send that to Pod TV. By the way, I'm taking a little break from PTF because of all this, but I'm moving all my stuff to Radio Naira, and I'll be coming on PTF on a frequent basis. But which is good news for all of us because I'll be having more time to do stuff with us and PBS. But yeah, we had a wonderful interview with the Raleigh Councilmember Jonathan Melton, who's also going to be running for Wake County Commission. But he's a good friend of mine, and we're going to be working together. Both serve on there together for the 2 seats. But it was a great interview, and I'm going to start bringing more of these guests. So that might be helpful. You know, interview them, and that's going to go on Radio Naira. But you know, we can send that. So feel free, Mark, whatever you need. And I got to run. It's great to see you guys. I'll try to be back tomorrow, or probably Friday. I'll travel tomorrow. But thank you all so much, and we'll be sending an email about the American politics, which we're trying to do tomorrow on next week Thursday.
Okay. So, Steve, it'll have to be a post interview because we'll be at a conference, and but we'll talk about it.
Oh, that's right. You're going to be gone. Who can send us a link, or should we just move it to the following week when you're back?
Move it to the following week.
Okay, I'll email David Walker and do that. Okay?
Right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I hit the button too.